Hello, hello.
And we're back.
Welcome to episode 3 of the list, where
Number
we give
3.
you our top 5 opinions.
Mm-hmm.
And we are ready for another great episode. I'm King
Yes,
Ralph.
we are.
He's Parma Sean.
Yeah.
Sean, what do we have this week?
This week we're doing top 5 WrestleMania matches, but with a twist.
Ooh,
Ralph, what are those
love
twists?
twists. So we're calling this one No Titles, No Taker. So
Yes.
we're the top 5 WrestleMania matches that are not for a title and do not involve The Undertaker. Those are our big caveats for this one.
Caveats.
So, I'm excited to see what you've pulled out of the archives and what you've come up with. So,
yes,
Sean, give us your number 5.
My number 5, I think, is kind of underrated and doesn't get enough love. We're going back to WrestleMania 21. It's Eddie Guerrero's last Mania match versus longtime rival Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
I just think that match doesn't get enough credit. It was a great match. They did a lot of callbacks to a lot of their great matches from the past, from WCW, from WWE. A lot of great callbacks from like Halloween Havoc. Like, it was just a really cool callback match, but also they did a lot of new things as well. It was just a really cool match to kind of round out Eddie's career before he ultimately, unfortunately, passed on.
Yeah, I think that's a great match. We all know, the Halloween Havoc Classic between the two of them, and to see them this many years later still performing on such a high level, to get that WrestleMania moment together is really, really a testament to, the careers they built, the things that they've done, and some of Eddie Guerrero at his best. That last sort of run, which we didn't know was going to be Eddie's last run, but that last sort of run before Eddie passed, just so good and so deserving, and to see those guys get that moment, great match.
Absolutely.
All right, my number 5, I went in a totally different direction,
right?
Because to me, this is a match that I think, and one of the participants in the match has said that like this was his like biggest match, because one of the participants was looking to get their WrestleMania moment. Right. They had a shot at it once before. It didn't go as well as they expected. Right. But this one kind of went all over the place. And we're going back to WrestleMania 22. And that's the hardcore match between Mick Foley and Edge.
Oh my God!
And I think that match does not get enough credit in the annals of history. The flaming table spot, just the brutality between the two of them. This was at a time when there was kind of a bit of a resurgence of the hardcore aspect of wrestling in WWE. Right. And I feel like, Foley had his match at 20. With The Rock against Evolution, and he did not feel that was his best effort. He didn't feel that he had really been in shape as much as he could have been for that. And he always felt like he missed out on his WrestleMania moment. So this was definitely a WrestleMania moment for Mick Foley, and going in there with Edge, someone who's a consummate professional. Just a great match all around.
And even Ed has said in multiple interviews that, like, if he wasn't made before that match made him and Foley.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, Foley was already a legend, but like that was his last match, like last big Mania match. That was like that to him was like a good match. But Edge, that match made him the radio superstar that we all know and love him to be now.
Absolutely. All right, Sean, you're number 4.
Number 4. Let's go back to WrestleMania 10.
Ooh.
I think this match. Obviously is legendary for multiple reasons, but just a match that I think that sometimes gets lost because WrestleMania 10 wasn't the best overall WrestleMania. But Bret versus Owen, WrestleMania 10, I think that match is got to be up there with one of the greatest matches on probably one of the not so great cards.
Yeah.
I think that's why it doesn't get enough love, because it's on WrestleMania 10 wasn't the best WrestleMania.
And I feel like this is a match that, wrestlers look at in a certain light. Fans of Owen look at in a certain light, because obviously Owen getting the big win over brother Bret, who then would completely overshadow that by winning the title later on in the night.
Yeah, right.
It is what it is. WrestleMania 10 again. You had the ladder match with Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon, which kind of
moments
blew everything out of the water. Like, forget it.
Yeah.
But definitely a good match. Definitely a highlight of that show.
Yeah, I think 10 had good moments,
mm-hmm.
but overall wasn't the greatest show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my number 4, we're going all the way back to WrestleMania 19, and we're looking at the third match in a series. This would be The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. No titles, just two guys who have been up and down the roads together, have done everything possible. And we didn't know at the time that this was going to be Austin's last match for a while. Right. Obviously, there's the stories that leading up to it, how Austin was in the hospital for dehydration. He almost didn't make it to the show in time. But this was sort of like, and it's not that he had to, quote unquote, anoint The Rock, but this was more of an anointing because The Rock had yet to beat him. Austin had always bested The Rock. This was their third encounter at WrestleMania. And this match is just great for a ton of reasons. The back and forth, Rock wearing Austin's vest at a particular moment. And then just the moment after the match where Austin's, laying flat on his back in the ring and The Rock, leans down and whispers to him. And it's just, when we think about it now, we look at it a certain way. At the time, you had no idea the finality and the greatness you were seeing in this match. And again, WrestleMania 19, a lot of crazy things happened at WrestleMania 19. A lot of crazy things happened at WrestleMania. So to have that match there and just, kind of put an exclamation point on Austin's career to that point, we'd see him make returns here and there. But to me, I think out of the 3 matches that they had, 15, 17, and 19, I think 19 to me was the best overall match. I know everybody really goes nuts for 17, but I think 19 was the best overall. Right. All right, your number 3.
We're sticking with WrestleMania 19, probably as they say, one of the greater WrestleManias of all time. But I'm going to Shawn Michaels' first Mania back since injury, since returning. He faced the Y2J himself, Chris Jericho. That was just such an amazing feud. That match was just such an amazing match from start to finish. It really showed that Michaels still had it. I mean, we knew when he faced Triple H, but like this match solidified that he was still, in his mind, Mr. WrestleMania. He still had it. And the icing on the cake was that low blow at the end, because the whole thing was Jericho said that, you were my inspiration. You were who I grew up loving. And then right at the end, the low blow and the face plant down. Yeah. Just the perfect way to end the whole match and start that feud up right.
Yeah, that's a great match. As you said, the build up to that match was super intense. You could feel it between them. But yeah, you're right. That moment at the end, after such a great match, that moment at the end, the low blow, I feel like that's a match that when you talk about making people, like that was the match that cemented Y2J on a certain level.
Oh yeah, absolutely. 100%.
All right. So my number 3, we're going back to WrestleMania 30, and a lot of great things happened at WrestleMania 30. But if I had to pick one match, this match opened the show. Triple H versus Daniel Bryan.
Oh yeah.
And I think this to me, this match even overshadows Daniel Bryan's title win at the end, because if you watch this match from beginning to end, you see like they almost, The Rock did his whole final boss thing. It was almost like Triple H was a final boss.
Yeah, absolutely.
The presentation at the beginning, he comes out and he's on the throne and he's got, the crown and the whole 9 yards and, making appearances in his entrance as the 3 girls around the throne. Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné, Charlotte Flair, and Alexa Bliss, all making their first, big appearances on screen there. Of course, at that point, we had no idea who they were. But this match, to me, was even more important than the world title win by Daniel Bryan at the end of the show. This match
had so much story in it.
Well, it cemented everything that the Yes Movement was about. Because the Yes Movement wasn't about him winning a title. The Yes Movement was about him fighting back against the authority. And this was the moment that he really kind of went from Daniel Bryan to Daniel Bryan. Like, seriously.
Made.
That's my number 3. Right. All right, we're getting to the top here, Sean. What is your number 2?
Number 2, we're going back to WrestleMania 33 with a match that, when they announced it, people were unsure just because of, where everything was at. But this was at the prime, in my opinion, of AJ Styles' career in WWE, when he was still hot and still going. When he faced Shane McMahon at Mania 33. At the time, Shane was, I think, 47, and Styles is pretty much up there in the same age range. But they put on a show, very submission style match, very submission based, very much an even. Which, again, Shane McMahon isn't really a wrestler, but they had a very even, very good match that I think surprised a lot of people.
You're right. Getting AJ Styles on the big stage like that is always a treat, and Shane McMahon is just insane. There's no other way to put it. Like, he goes out there and just does whatever. But yeah, definitely, I think a highlight of Shane McMahon's career in WWE. A very solid match for AJ Styles. Definitely, you could tell that they thought something of AJ Styles to put him in there with Shane McMahon.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. For my number 2, we're going all the way back to WrestleMania 13.
All right.
This match had everything you could possibly want. It was the match between Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin. This match had everything. This match had Ken Shamrock as the special guest referee.
Right.
It had the confrontation after the match with Ken Shamrock and Bret Hart. It had what is arguably the only double turn in the history of wrestling, where we went in and Bret became a heel and Austin became, the anti-heel face that he was.
Right.
Never passed out. There's that iconic moment of just the front view of him in the sharpshooter, just bleeding profusely. Two guys went out there and gave everything they had and were richly rewarded for it, because this match is very highly regarded in the history of WrestleMania and both of their careers. And I feel this was, the Bret and Austin feud had been going for a while. They had their Survivor Series match, but I feel like this was the match that was the turning point for the whole thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Just iconic moments, iconic imagery. Like I said, just the image of him bleeding, the screaming of the sharpshooter, and then him just passing out, not tapping out.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. We are up to our number 1, Sean. What have you got as your number 1?
You mentioned not many times where you had a heel and face turn mid-match. This, for me, is one of them. And this was before there was once in a lifetime, twice in a lifetime. Icon versus icon, Rock and Hogan. To me, this was, at the time, one of the biggest matches that they could have possibly done. 2 different styles, 2 different eras. And mid-match, the crowd just turned. And mid-match, the stars went and decided to just listen to them. And they both changed mid-match. I believe it started off with Rock as the face, Hogan as the heel. And as the match progressed, Hogan became the face and Rock became the heel. And they just naturally changed courses because they heard and listened to the fans.
Yeah. I had a hard time putting that one on my list. And that was honestly a thought of mine. Just because it's such a big moment, the crowd interaction, just everything about it is kind of larger than life when you look at this idea of, WrestleMania being a larger than life spectacle, but definitely worthy of noting. My number 1, we already talked about Owen versus Bret. I think that just solidifies Owen Hart as a major player, everything that happened. We've talked about it.
Absolutely.
Owen versus Bret, just an instant classic. If you listen to Talk is Jericho, his interview with Bret Hart talks about how they had a completely different match planned that WWE didn't go with, which would have made Owen an even bigger star.
Right.
I always thought they should have done it opposite and had Bret win the title at the beginning and then Owen beat him to close out Mania.
Oh yeah, that would have been smart.
This was a time when they still weren't doing heels, winning the last match at Mania. Like it just wasn't something they did. But again, just an incredible match.
I agree. That's good choice. Good choice.
All right, another top 5 in the books here on the list.
Yes.
Remember, you can see the list every Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. Watch the list.
Don't miss it.
Check out AEW Dynamite, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe. and we will see you guys next time.